But my name is Neva Parker, and I'm running for state assembly. Does anybody know what the state assembly is? No, yes? Okay, very few. So the state assembly is in the state legislature, and it's just one of the houses of the state legislature. So it, passes bills and represents the areas, when you send representatives from your area. How many people know exactly what 85 is, though? Where that encompasses? Where 85 encompasses? Assembly District 5, where that encompasses? No, just this area. So it's parts of Placer and parts of El Dorado County. So for here, it goes down to Latrobe. It's about as far, southish it goes. Then it goes up from El Dorado Hills through Placerville, through Cool and Coloma, down through Auburn, Lincoln, Roseville, Rockland, and those areas. So it's this sort of sweeping arc, and it is mostly rural, actually, with some suburbs, but mostly rural. I, as Roberta, I'm so sorry, Roberta said, I worked for the legislature for 26 years. I started off as an intern when I was at UC Davis, and I started off in the chief clerk's office. And the chief clerk's is the parliamentarian of the assembly. And so they're the ones that, they take all the papers, and they're the reading clerk. They sit up in the front there and help during session. And so I was one of those people, and I started off actually as a proofreader, and I did that for about 5 years. And then from there, I went up to the assembly desk, and I worked as the history clerk, and I got to be the reading clerk for a little bit. So you see that that person in the front taking roll and reading all of the bills when they come up on the floor. I did that. And then I got poached by the Senate when the Senate history clerk was retiring, and so I went over and worked in the Senate for another 16 years. So I was 8 in the Assembly, 16 in the Senate. And it was great. In the Senate, I was history clerk for a long time, and then I became journal clerk, and I was the official record keeper of the Senate. So I sat in the front. I got to see so many things over those years, lots of interesting things that happened on the floor that are kind of coming to fruition now. But it was a great job, and I loved every minute of it, and I'm so proud of all of the things that I've done. I was there to help build some of the computer programs that actually probably need to be redone, to be honest with you, because it's been about 15 years. So that was my career. That's what I did. And in that time, I went and got a master's degree in leadership from St. Mary's College. So I not only got to learn about leadership, but I sat there and observed it myself every single day. And the one thing that I learned the most about working in that legislature is about relationships, period. It is about the folks that go around and talk to people. The most successful legislators were the ones that would come down and talk to staff and just kind of be there and just listen to what everybody had to say. And so that's the sort of leadership that I take to this. This is sort of the type of representation I want to give. Not somebody who just walks into the building, comes, reads their stuff, does their job, and goes home. I want to be somebody who is there for everybody, the entire community, and is there in the moment doing the job. So that is sort of me in a nutshell. My husband owned and operated a sports nutrition store in Folsom for many, many years. He's always been an entrepreneur. He used to sell knives and pepper spray when he was in high school at Tenaya's Market in Roseville. And so from there, he's always just done his own kind of thing. And so when I met him, he was one of the first people to put sports nutrition on the internet. And this was kind of right when Amazon was starting to kick in. So Amazon then kicked in and put him out of business. So then he opened up a brick and mortar store, and 16 years later, Amazon came in and put us out of business. So I don't have a love for Amazon. So that's that. And then now, currently I'm running for office. I do sit on the Roseville Grants Advisory Commission, and so Roseville has a grants program, and we, on average, usually have about $260,000 to about $300,000 every year to grant out to the community in Roseville to different nonprofits, and so I sit on that. And then I also sit on the Placer County Older Adults Advisory Commission, and one of the reasons why I sit on that commission is because my parents are getting older. I'm also getting older too. And so I care about what happens to the senior community in Placer County. I care about what happens to the senior community all over the state. At the time I joined the commission, the senior population was one of the fastest populations to become homeless. And so to me, that's just unconscionable. So I am on that commission to try and make life better for seniors in Placer County. So again, that's just me real quickly in a nutshell. One of the reasons why I decided to just sort of stop working in the legislature and then go be in the legislature is because of many things, but one very particular thing. In my district, not in my district, but in my area, well, in our district actually, we have a problem with representation, in that the representation represents very specific groups of people. They don't represent everybody. And I have a fundamental issue with that. I have spoke to our assembly member and talked to him about this, and I know other people have too. And I said, you have groups of people like the LGBT community, women, Democrats, in your community who need your representation, but you aren't there for them. And he said to me, it's a partisan office. I don't understand what that means. And I just thought, I don't understand how you don't know what that means. It might be a partisan race, but when you're in office, it's not a partisan job. It is for everybody. You are there regardless of whether or not you agree with the person, you are there to represent their interests. That's the job, and that's why I decided to run. So that's why I'm here today. I'm not doing too bad. So the last election, so I ran in 2024. And a lot of people, when you run, they say, what are you interested in doing? What do you want to, represent? What do you want to work on? When I ran in 2024, the things that were most important to me were addiction recovery reform. There's one thing I really, really wanted to work on, and the other was higher education. This election, things have kind of changed. My commitment to those things are still very strong. But the more I've gone around and talked to the community, I realize there are two things that are very, very important to everybody. One is the cost of living, and specifically in our area, insurance and utilities. And the other is civil rights. People are very, very concerned. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, they're very, very concerned about their civil rights. There isn't a demographic right now that has not been impacted by what the federal government has done. And that includes white males, because of the voter rights situation. So there isn't a demographic that hasn't been impacted, which means there are people, every single person needs representation. They need somebody out there concerned and focused on their rights and making certain they're preserved and not rolled back. So that is something that I'm very committed to this election, specifically making sure nobody's disenfranchised, specifically women. Women still have access to the reproductive decision making, and that we maintain our DEI education, and we make certain that we're still focused on teaching people our diversity, and all of the things that make us wonderful and great people in the world in such a diverse community. So I'm very committed to that. In terms of the insurance situation, folks are very, very concerned. I don't think, especially in a rural community, rates are, I don't need to tell anybody this, rates are very expensive, people are losing their coverage, and so the other focus that will be is making certain that, customers have guarantees of making guarantees that they can maintain their insurance if they do what the insurance company wants them to do. The other is transparency with the insurance process, and the other is definitely climate control. What am I talking about? Climate change, and focusing on that. So, I don't know, I'm 50 years old, so climate control is important. But climate change, I'm very concerned about that as well. It is the driver for the increase of our insurance. It is a driver to so many things that are, problems within our community. So, just to sum up very quickly, that's who I am. There are a few things that folks can do to help candidates, and I always have to do this pitch because I think it's important. You guys have great candidates running. Prop 50 didn't affect AB5. The limits are still, the borders are still the same. You still have the same people. I was on your ballot last election, I'm on your ballot this election. But what it did do is turn an assembly district that had 2 congressional districts in it to one that has 4 and kind of 5, because 5 sort of, I don't know, it sort of skirts it. So really kind of like 4 and 5 districts. So you have all of these great candidates running. You're going to hear from Councilmember Vang. You're going to hear from Coppola. I did that correctly? Although he's not running for Congress, but he is in the area. You're going to hear from Jared, who's running for state senate. And then there was another. I don't remember. Anyways, so you have all these great candidates running and all these great choices. So it's, it's been kind of a fun election in comparison to last year. It was just me and one person. So it's been fun. But you have great candidates. You're going to hear from Councilmember Vang. You're going to also, the thing that you're probably also going to hear is how important it is. These campaigns, I am not funded by corporations at all. My money comes from the community. My opponent, most of his money comes from corporations. Most of it comes from outside of the district. And so, and it's a lot, okay, it's a lot. So they want to make certain he is there for them, not us. So contributions, donations are very important to all of the candidates around here. That's what keeps our campaigns going. The other is walking, if you can canvas and phone bank and postcard, right? That's fantastic too. But there is one thing that makes the biggest difference. And that's you telling 5 people that you met a candidate and this is who I like. Because I can go out and talk to whomever, and that's fine, maybe I convince them. But if a friend tells them, I like this person, this is why, they tend to trust that a little bit more. So if you can tell 5 people about the candidates that you like, you're gonna help us so much at that point. So I'm Neva Parker. You can find me on the internet, nevaparkerforassembly.com. I'm on every single social media. Tomas is my campaign manager back there with our really cool shirts. All of our stuff is over there. If you want signs, I don't know, there's other stuff over there. So the table's over there, he'll be here. And then, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.